And 1, 2, 3, and what's going on, world family? It's your boy Donald Jones, aka DJ, and welcome to another episode of Journey of the Mindset. I have a great guest here today. I've known her for a short amount of time, but the very first time that we met, we had a very, very deep conversation. I learned so much about her. She learned so much about me. I thought that it would just be amazing to have you on the show and you to just basically tell your story and some of the things that you're doing and where you're trying to go. So without further ado, I'm just gonna hand this show over to Millie right now and just let her know who she is and what she's doing and the great work that she's out there doing. So what's going on?
What's going on, Donald? I look at the great work you're doing, aiming high. Amazing.
I'm really trying. I'm trying. You know, it's just tiring sometimes, but you know, I really, really try.
Yes.
You know, one thing that I learned about like the work that that I'm doing is that you have to touch a lot into your own personal life.
Yes, you
and
do.
You have to pull a lot out from the things that you've been through and experiences.
Yes.
And I want to know, like, when you're on your journey. First of all, let's just back it a little bit. What is it that you're doing? What is your journey? What are you working on right now?
Well, right now I'm working on living in spite of, which is shortcuts, LISO. So what it does is it focuses on mental illness, depression, anxiety, and how to live in spite of that emotion. Because we have to think emotions can be strong or they can be light, and it's up to you to decipher which emotion you want to capture you. So I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety years ago after losing my parents a month apart.
Yeah.
It's very depressing, but I had to learn that two things can't occupy the same space. Depression and anxiety, yes. Negativity, positivity, they cannot occupy the same space. So I had to learn, I had to choose, do I want to be negative about this situation? Of course I'm going to be depressed about it, but depression is a state of mind, it's an emotion that's naturally going to happen. But it's up to you to decide if you want to be negative or positive, and that negativity, that negative action can lead you down a different path. That positive action can lead you down a different path. So that's where LISO came into play.
So and I just want to go back a little bit. What are some of the techniques and some of the things that you do to keep yourself in that positive state? Because one thing that I know that I found myself, because I was actually diagnosed with depression when I was a young kid, and it was something that obviously I didn't understand. And around that time, I'm not gonna date myself, but around that time, it was something that people, especially in where we come from in our culture, it was something that was just overlooked. So like, what are some of the things that you can say that actually, like you said to yourself, you know what, I need to pull myself out of this situation, or I need to change my mindset, or I just want more, I want better for myself. Like, what was it that you did that applied to your life to help you get out of that mindset?
Well, first you have to allow yourself to feel the emotion because it's natural. What a lot of people tend to do is, say for instance, you're going through a breakup. Oh my God, they basically try to force themselves to feel the opposite, because everybody wants to feel happy, right? Everybody wants to tell someone, the number one question you get asked when someone bumps into you in the street, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm fine, I'm good. Nobody wants to say, oh, I feel like a piece of crap. Nobody wants to say that. But if you do say that, you'll be amazed, because once you realize how you feel, you can then do something about it. If you say I'm sad, you say, but I don't want to be sad, I want to be happy, you can do something about that sadness. But if you say I'm happy, you're going to be fake happy. And guess what fake happy leads to? Oh, I want to go out for a drink. You go out for a drink, you get sloppy drunk, you pass out on the street.
Yes.
But if you're genuine happy, you go out for one drink with a friend, you talk to that friend, you say, I'm happy to have you in my life, friend, and you're genuinely happy. So that's one tool that I learned to use, is to realize my real emotion. If it's sadness, if it's happiness, if it's confusion, if it's anxiety, and I say, okay, I feel this way. Number 2, what can I do about it? Number 3, how can I be held accountable for continuing to do something about it? It's hard to just get up in the morning sometimes for some people.
Yes.
But when you're able to get up, you need to really pat yourself on the back, like, wow, I got out of bed. That's good.
Yeah.
You gotta recognize the small things first before elevating.
Yes.
So that's a tool that I use. I recognize the simple things that I'm able to do in life, and I also naturally allow myself to feel how I'm feeling at the moment, but not stay there.
Did you feel isolated at one point in time where you feel like you didn't want to talk about what you were going through because you felt like nobody would understand?
Absolutely.
And did you, when you did speak on it, did it start to feel a little better?
It did, because a lot of people like to hold in those feelings because you feel like it's embarrassing to say say you're feeling certain negative feelings.
Yeah.
But eventually you learn in life it's not. Because when we're children, we're very honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't get what you wanted for Christmas, do you say, oh, that's okay? No. If you're 4 years old and you wanted, as a boy, you wanted a Super Mario Brothers Nintendo game and you didn't get it,
Exactly.
you didn't say, Mommy, Daddy, it's okay, we didn't get the game.
Yeah.
You're like, I want the game, I'm sad, you cry. As we get older, we learn how to sugarcoat these feelings, and guess what? It turns into mental illness. It turns into you being senile. You ever see those people, oh, I'm fine, I'm great, but you know deep inside, they're not great.
I was one of those people. And I spoke about it on a few of the podcasts where I walk around and I'm joking and I'm smiling and I'm playing all the time. But the moment I get in my car, the moment I get home and I'm by myself, I have to face me. And there was a time where I was just like, you know what, I'm tired of coming home to myself and then having to deal with these feelings.
Yeah.
And I spoke about one time just getting out of bed was hard. Like to get my foot on the floor was just so painful. And I just didn't want to do anything. You know, I really just, it was just one day that I was like, you know what, I need to get, this can't continue. You know, the thoughts in your head when you're not being able to control it was something that really just broke me. And then this is the weird thing though. I didn't even know what the problem was. That's the scary part is when you feel like your mind is out of control, you have no control of your thoughts, and then you're hurting, and you really don't even know why because there's 10 million things that shoot in and out of your head.
Exactly.
You know, and that's why I think, you know, it is very important, and I wanted to ask you, how was it that you've got out of there? Because a lot of my the people that do follow me are women, and I do get you know, DMs, and they'll tell me like, hey, you know, well, what did you know? How did you get out of this? How did you get out of that? And a lot of them, I think I was telling you before we even turned on the mics, that a lot of them was like, when are you gonna have a woman on your show? And I feel like right now I got the most powerful woman in the world, and I'm sitting in front of me because just for you to be able to come up here and share. That's great. People aren't talking about this.
They're not talking about it. I mean, because it's especially it's a stigma in our community, and you know we are a community that's learned to suppress things. We've learned to suppress feelings. We've learned to suppress emotions. Especially not only get spiritual and bring the church into it, but you know it's good to be centered spiritually, but know yourself first before you let the spiritual aspect take over. You know who you are. I know who Millie is. Now I'm comfortable in any church I go to because if I go to that church and they say, oh, do you go to counseling? Do you seek therapy? Do you get help? Yes, I do. Prior knowing the importance of therapy, I stigmatized it. I said, I don't know, I'm gonna pray. Prayer and therapy go hand in hand. It's worked miracles for me.
But did you lose like did you lose spirituality? Did you feel like your relationship with God was becoming more distant?
I felt it became closer because God genuinely knew me, and I genuinely knew Him. I didn't know God for my parents. I didn't know God for the community. I knew God for me. I didn't want an artificial relationship with God. Me and God have a genuine, real relationship. He's with me in the club. He's with me in church. He's with me at work. He's with me with my friends. He's with me when I have a glass of martini. So you take God everywhere with you. People have the tendency to try and hide God from certain areas of their life. He's with me when I'm sad. You know, I try to stay sad instead of depressed. I try not to let those words claim me. So we just, especially with women, we have so many emotions, and what women tend to do, which is why we are the number one disease of women is heart disease, because women tend to just sugarcoat their feelings and emotions. Because we have to be strong, we have to be mothers, we have to be wives, some of us are CEOs, some of us are managers, and we don't want to cry, we don't want to recognize when we're sad, we don't want to have feminine power because we feel like it's considered weak. Listen, sometimes at work, when I'm sad, I close my door and I cry. And and it's not about work, I may just think about my mom. And if a coworker comes in and asks me, were you crying? I say yes. I'm not afraid to say I cried. A lot of people are afraid to say they cried one time in life. Why? You're not afraid to say you smiled. It's just an emotion. Happiness is an emotion. Sadness is an emotion. Excitement is an emotion. But everyone is so afraid to admit when they're depressed.
Why do you think? Do you think that it's more society, like they feel like they're gonna be judged, or do you feel like it can just be more so an internal conflict where you're like, you know what, I can get over this myself, I can do this myself, I don't want to tell anybody.
The question you're asking is,
Yeah, more so like what, like, okay, so for me, I know that it was more so me, like it didn't have anything to do with me saying, I think that if I tell people they're not gonna understand, they're gonna hate me. It was more so me saying it myself, like nobody's gonna understand me. I don't want to talk to anybody about it. But then there's a stigma that's out there where people don't want to say anything because they feel like somebody's gonna. Prime example, I was having a conversation the other day with a young lady, and she was telling me that she told her mother that she was depressed. First thing that her mother says is, "You're not depressed." No. And then she said, "Well, this is the reason why it took me so long to say anything to you guys about it, because I felt like you guys wouldn't understand it. Y'all just gonna shut me off," and exactly what she thought happened.
Yes, exactly.
So it's like
people are afraid, like they're embarrassed to talk about depression, but they'll talk about how happy they are in a split second.
Yeah.
But like I said, once you realize depression is just an emotion, just like happiness is, it's easier to talk about. And if somebody doesn't understand that, you have to understand what it is for yourself. And once you understand what it is for yourself, now when I became depressed, I read up about it, I researched what depression was, I sought help, and I spoke to a clinical person who understood me. After that, I told my family. Because sometimes we want everyone to understand what we're going through, and that's not their job.
Ooh, wait a minute. Hold on. That you know what? That right there was really powerful, because I think that it's minus, just pushing depression aside for a second. I think that that's a natural response of a human being, where we feel like people are supposed to do, or people are supposed to understand,
and they're not.
They're not. And how do you get to that space where you're like, okay, you know what? Nobody owes me anything. They don't have to understand.
Exactly.
Because I was getting pissed off with people, man.
Right, and that's how you lose support.
Yes.
Because like when I went through my grievance and I lost my parents, I lost a few friends because I wanted them to understand my pain. But they had never been through what I've been through. And I said they can only support me in how they know. For instance, there was a situation, I lost my mother to breast cancer, where every year I would do the breast cancer walk with a specific friend of mine. When I lost my mother, I couldn't do the walk. And she called me and she said, I'm excited to do this walk with you every year. I look forward to it. I said, how dare you ask me to do a breast cancer walk? And I just lost my mother to breast cancer. You're not a friend. When I realized years later what I had done, I said to myself, how is she supposed to understand what I was going through? I was being selfish. So sometimes depression can also lead to you being selfish.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the negative part about it, which is why you want to learn what depression is and how to cope with it in a healthy way. The unhealthy way to cope with it is to assume everyone should understand you.
Yeah.
And everyone owes you something. Nobody owes you anything. They haven't gone through it. Now, once you understand it for yourself, you get stronger in your coping method.
Yeah.
And therefore, strength is built, and people learn how to behave around you.
Yeah.
Because you teach them. You say, listen, now, people know during Mother's Day, that's an extra sensitive time for me, so, they're more careful because I've communicated with them. I don't think they're supposed to know.
Yeah.
Oh, you know not to bring, like, if you're going through a breakup and Valentine's Day comes around, not everybody treats it the same way.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear about, you're single, and my man did this for me, did that for me. Why are you hating and being she's excited?
Yeah.
That's an emotion. Let her have that emotion.
Yeah.
Don't hate on her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something I had to learn.
Yeah.
That's her happy. That's her emotion. I'm going to let her have that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shun her for that.
Yeah. It's amazing because I'm listening to you speak, and it just seems like when you are dealing with depression, you have a lot more of a pile of weight that you have on top of you, because not only are you dealing with the internal conflicts, now you also have to focus on the people around you and try to figure out how they're feeling. take yourself out of your mindset to try to understand what they're thinking about. Because what you said was very big. A few years later, you thought, like, she's not going to understand what I'm going through because she's never been through it.
Right.
And even in my mind, as somebody that's sitting across from you, and you telling me the story about when your mom passed away, I'm sitting here saying, like, you know what, I would think that this would be the time where she wants to stand up and she wants to get out there and go and walk for her mom. And it's crazy because that right there would have been an argument. Like, if me and you would have called me up, and I would have called you up, and I would be like, well, you know, like, why are you acting like that? I would have thought that this would have been the time. And then in your mind, you're saying, she just really doesn't understand. So let me make you understand. And this is where the back and forth comes in.
Right. This is where the friendship was lost because I was so into my feelings, and I was so, and not in a clinical way, in the way I knew. And so that's what happens when you just assume, okay, I'm feeling depressed about the situation. Everybody's supposed to understand. I just lost my house. My car just got repossessed. Everybody's supposed to understand that I'm going through a hard time. But if someone comes around you in a positive spirit and you're feeling negative about your life and what you're going through, you're upset because they're supposed to, feel for you. Yeah. And that's what a lot of depressed people go through that don't know the true meaning of depression and how you're supposed to cope with it. It's your emotion. You have to learn how to deal with it first, and learn how to accept how people can deal with you. Like the only it's the support I had. That was how they knew how to support me. Yeah. That's how they knew, and I it wasn't good enough for me. But back then, but today I say that's how they know how to love me. Yeah. That's how my friend knows how to support me. Yeah. She's never been through. I've never been through a divorce, so I can't tell a woman or a man how to cope with that. Yeah. All I can do is say I'm here if you need me.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this question: What did therapy do for you?
Therapy actually it gave me a ground to be myself. And to also let my guard down with someone who understood genuinely what I was going through. When you're talking with a girlfriend or a friend in general about what's going on, that's a lot of weight you're putting on that person. With therapy, I didn't feel like I was putting any weight on anyone, so I can definitely be real and honest about what I was going through. It helped me to clarify my situation. Yeah. It helped me clarify what was going on in my head. There were millions of thoughts, like you said, running around in your head. You were crying for no reason. Why you're walking in the middle of Times Square, the city of lights, and all of a sudden you're crying. You're like, so what therapy does is it basically clarifies and organizes those emotions for you. It organizes your emotions. A lot of people are walking around with disorganized emotions. Yeah. Like I said, negativity and positivity can't occupy the same space. Yeah. You ever see some people in the morning, they're uppity and they're happy and they're loving, and then by 2 p.m. they're like, get out of my face. Yeah. You're like,
what happened to you this morning?
What happened to you? So therapy teaches you how to just be mindful of yourself, mindfulness. Yeah. If I'm washing the dishes, I'm not thinking about after the dishes, I have to put the food away. And when I'm putting the food away, I'm putting the food away. I'm not thinking about after I put the food away, I have to. So usually when people are depressed, there comes the anxiety. You're always thinking about the next thing instead of being mindful about what you're doing right now, what you're feeling right now. I'm feeling sad today, but by 3 o'clock, I think I want to be happy. Yeah. I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock at night. In the morning at 8 o'clock, I think I want to wake up happy. You got to think about how you're feeling at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. Not about how and eventually if you're feeling sad at 10 o'clock, you say, I'm feeling upset. I think I'm going to just get some rest. Try not to think about how you're going to feel in 8 hours. Yeah. That's what therapy taught me.
So
mindfulness.
One thing that I know that happens a lot, right? And then I'll share a personal experience that actually happened to me 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But when you don't feel the sadness or when you don't feel it for a while, so I guess the example that I can give you is that I'm doing Journey to Mindset, so I speak a lot about my life and things that I felt and that I've been through in the past. And I didn't realize that me digging into that dark vault, that it was going to start opening up things in my mind again. So 2 weeks ago, I wake up, fine, my normal, brush my teeth, take a shower, listen to motivation, and in the morning I'm great. get into the car, turn on the car, don't know what, boom, just crying. I'm not talking about like the regular cry. I'm talking about like snot coming down type cry.
Wow, okay.
And I'm sitting here saying to myself, I have not had an episode like this in years.
Yeah.
And it was scary because I was no longer used to the feeling anymore. And I tried to connect everything possible that I was doing now with the reason why I was feeling that way, and I came up with a million things. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that stood out was that the work that I'm doing, it's like, in a sense, I have to relive it in order to help people. So you're coming into this space where you want to help, and you're going to start talking a lot about your feelings and things that you've been through. Yeah. And so far, how have you helping people, opening up to people, and starting to build a platform for yourself? How has that affected you? Is it something that you feel like you could just talk about, doesn't bother you, or you speak about it and later on down the line you just think about it? Like, how are you coping with that more so?
I know what you mean, because like right here talking about my mom is really bringing back memories of her. What I've learned to do is embrace it. Mm-hmm. Now when there's a walk, breast cancer walk, I embrace breast cancer. I'm an advocate for it. Nice. I do my sorority, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I sit on the ZHO committee. Nice. I help them plan their walks. I embrace it. And sometimes when you embrace things, you no longer think about the pain. Without struggle, there's no history. So if you think about slavery, and that was struggle. Now we have history. What you've gone through, that was your struggle, and now you've made history by overcoming it. Yes. So I think of it as I'm history. I'm living history. You're living history. Yes. So that's how I cope with it. My father passed away as well. Yes. He worked for the New York City Transit. Every time I would walk by a train station, I would get depressed. I couldn't walk by a train station. Yeah. But now I embrace trains. I say, I love the train. My father built those tracks that people take every morning to work on 241st Street in the Bronx. My father was the superintendent of the Dyer Avenue train station. I go to that train station, I said, wow, that's what I embrace it, but it took years to get there. I don't want to say years, but I'm going to say it one more time. Without struggle, there's no history.
Yes. That is 100% true.
So,
that is 100%
embrace
true.
your struggle so you can be history.
Yes. That is, listen.
You can make history. Excuse me.
I always tell people, you can walk around here with a doctorate. Mm-hmm. You can walk around here with all the certifications that you want. And it doesn't mean that you don't know nothing. Obviously, you studied it, you mastered it.
Right.
The experience within itself is something, to me, that's just beyond this world. Right. And to get past it, to be able to be in this space where you're out there and you'll be able to talk about it, and then you get the DMs and you get people that's like, you get and there's different type of people that you're going to get. You're going to get the type of people that's been in your life for a while that's going to say they never knew. Mm-hmm. Fine. Mm-hmm. You're going to get the people that's going to send you the DMs that you don't even know, or try to get in contact with you and be like, I appreciate you from, one time I was checking my Instagram early in the morning, and I got a DM, and it was from a gentleman, and he said, I want to thank you for posting what you posted this morning, because I was going to wake up and do something stupid. Wow. Don't know what he was going to do. Wow. But right then and there, that was just telling me right there, like, this is, you're doing it for the right cause. People want to hear it. People want to speak about this stuff. Right. In order to lead sometimes, you have to be the first person to do something or say something. Right. Same thing, and I definitely want to touch on this because I'm a guy that was raised by two women. I was raised by my mother and my sister. And yeah, I'm a dude, but I'm definitely all about woman power. Right. So in an age of Me Too and things happening and women standing up for themselves and women having a voice, what can you say for a lot of women, entrepreneurs that's out there that's struggling, that like you said earlier in the podcast, that are mothers, that are out there going to school, that are out there taking care of their kids? What do you say to the ladies that are really out there trying to do or make a difference? What do you say to them?
What do I say to them?
Yeah.
To not shun your feminine power. a lot of CEOs, women of power, they forget about their feminine energy. Feminine energy is important because you're in these masculine, well, we don't want to call them masculine roles, but you're in these powerful roles. You feel like you have to neglect who you are naturally as a woman. I'm a CEO, so I have to have good posture, put your shoulders back. But remember, you're an emotional being too. Once you shun that, that's where the mental illness slips in. I'm a manager. I manage a clinic, you know that program. Sometimes I'm put in positions where I have to put on my masculine energy. I have to give protocol. I have to hold staff meetings. I have to, but at the same time, I remember I'm a woman. I'm going to be emotional in certain situations. I can't forget who I am. Don't forget you're a woman. Don't try to be a man. Because a woman on a head, or a neck that turns the head. Don't forget you're a woman. Again, don't try to be a man. Use your feminine energy for a good cause.
You know what, I want to say this, and I'm probably going to get in trouble by the men out there. Women are the head of everything. They are our emotional support. They let us know when we're being stupid. They let us know that we are stupid. But if you really look at
I think you have a lot of men too that would agree.
Yeah, no, listen, I can tell you, I can definitely tell you, a world without women would be very, very difficult because, listen, man, listen, I'm about to lose half of my listeners right now. We do dumb things. And we need a woman to say, listen, you need to get it together, brother, because you're being 34 years old and your income is really not there. I don't know what you're doing with your life, but it's time for you to get up and rise and be the brother that you know how to be.
But you see, that's the feminine energy. If you're not intact, if women are not intact with that feminine energy, they can't scope out that about a man because they're too busy trying to be one. So if you realize you're a woman, you realize your energy, you realize your power, you realize your control, you know how to use it. Same with men. You have, I'm not knocking, listen, I'm all for pride, I get it. But when you're a man, you also have to realize your masculine energy and what that could do. I'm not going to try and fix my sink. I mean, not saying women can't do it, but I know my limits. So just realize your feminine energy, and from there, trust me, you can do amazing things. One person that has realized that is Michelle Obama. She's realized her feminine energy and was able to have her husband rule the country. But guess who was ruling that country? Okay. With that feminine power, we'll let you be the man on the front lines,
listen,
but behind the scenes.
no arguments here. I was raised by two women. My mother, I would always say this. I look at my mother as being a superwoman. She's just a hero because my mother raised me and my sister. She raised us in the South Bronx. I've seen that lady, go to work, leave work, go to another work, leave work, and then go to another job before coming home to sleep for 2 hours and starting it all over again. I can't thank her, listen, she could have said I give up.
Absolutely. A lot of women could say they give up, but you are her motivation. Going back to that, because I was raised by my mother and my father, but my father, I saw masculinity when my mother wasn't around, when she was at work. I saw him coming into work with the dirty boots on and the dirty vest from working on the track. But as soon as he got home, all of that went out the window, and my mother said, "Don't put them dirty boots on my carpet. You better sit down, here's your plate." And he was just turning to okay, I said, "What happened?" All of that flew out the window, right? Because he wanted to eat. He wanted a meal, a nice warm meal, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Soon as he saw my mother, it was like, oh, but I would just never forget that. But he knew, like my mother knew where her feminine energy was, my father knew where his was, and the household ran accordingly, you know.
And they have, so another thing, they have respect for each other.
Right.
So except like, hey, you know what? I know when to step back and let him be the man, and I know when to step back to let him
right.
be.
And that's something that happens too amongst in a lot of relationships, especially of color. Is I think we kind of forget our roles, or we don't want to admit them.
Yeah.
Because you, like, again, going back to female CEOs, sometimes you have the CEO that's afraid to put on some high heels and a skirt and stand in a room full of men and give a presentation because that's too feminine, right? Yeah. But yet men are not afraid to wear suits and stand in front of a group of women and be masculine, correct?
Yes.
So why are we afraid of that? I'm not.
That's the best time to show yourself.
Exactly. Some women are not, but again, you put on lipstick and heels, they're like, oh my God, I'm not going to be respected. You're not going to see the power, the control.
You know what?
Use it to your advantage.
You have to use it to your advantage. Even as me, I want to jump on race a little bit. Being a black man and growing up, I have a mixture of friends. I have white friends, I have black friends. And one thing I said is when I'm hanging around my black friends, I want to be the same way when I'm hanging around my white friends. When I'm hanging around my white friends, I want to be the same way when I'm hanging around my black friends. And I use my time, especially, and it's weird because it's like you don't really want to say that you have a stereotype in your head, but when I am hanging out with my white friends, I do tend to feel like I have to prove more. So like if we're having conversations, I feel like I have to be a lot more intellectual. Then when I'm hanging out with my black friends, I can I don't have to do that. But I always try to make sure that I'm managing and staying even between the two. So even when I'm hanging out with my black friends, I find that I'm doing the same thing when I'm hanging out with my white friends because I just want to stay the same.
Right.
In a sense, I can say in my head like I'm being the same way with both, but in all reality, I guess I take that back more. So I do have to switch it up in a sense.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that also plays a part in how you become? Especially like kids that are growing up that have a mixture of friends. Do you feel like that plays a mix in how you grow up and how you become? And does depression play a role in that? You seeing the two separate type of friends and the two separate type of lifestyles, and you saying, okay, I'm this person, I relate more to here, but I want this. Do you think that plays a part? Like you're not being comfortable in your skin.
I understand. I hear you, and you said it too. You're not being comfortable in your skin. I definitely have I can relate to what you're saying because I went to SUNY Oswego in 2001 to 2005, 8% minority, 8%. I wanted to go to Howard University. I went to a campus visit. I stayed over a weekend. Two young freshmen hosted me for the weekend. I said, Mom, I want to go to a black university. She said, no. Trust me, you're going to appreciate this. I said, I want to go to a black university. She said, absolutely not. You grew up in a black community, black and Hispanic community. You need to be well-rounded in order to function in this country in the future. I said, what does that mean? She said, you'll see. When I got to SUNY Oswego, my roommate was a Caucasian young girl. I said, oh, okay, I was a little standoffish about that. And now she lives in my community. I seen her recently. We get along great, but what that did was I had to do what you did. I had a certain type of friends. I was with the Black Student Union, and then I was hanging out with Christina and her white friends. Yeah. And so I had to learn, listen, Millie, be Millie. You see where I work. Yeah. It's very diverse. Yes. Millie, be Millie wherever you're at. I had to learn to be comfortable in that. So when I started hanging out with my white friends, I said, you know what? I'm going to wear my Uptowns. Yeah. I'm going to wear my Nikes. I'm going to wear my jeans and my white beater. And I'm going to rock it out. Nice. Eventually, they wanted to be like me. So when I'm in a meeting now today, and there's a room of white people, and I want to wear my dashiki, I'm gonna wear it. If I want to wear braids, I'm gonna wear it. I'm not gonna try and straighten my hair because of a meeting I'm going to that's majority Caucasian in the room, because I'm comfortable in my skin. But that was not me years ago. But when I realized, sometimes when they say society this, society that, you are society.
Yes.
I'm society.
Yes.
Be your own society.
Yes.
Be a walking society. You see what I'm saying?
It,
so once you say I'm society, you could be wherever you are.
Exactly.
And wherever you are, there you are. Wherever you are, there you are.
Let me tell you something. You're feeding me so much today. Like you're saying things to me that is opening up my eyes to things. I love this interview, and I'm getting fed, and I love to get fed. Let me tell you that right now.
Yeah, we got an empty appetite.
I'm telling you right now, I came here empty, and I'm telling you right now, I'm full. Like I'm really enjoying this. We're gonna have to definitely do a part 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're running out of time, but there's something that we do here in Journey to Mindset. We ask 3 questions. I'm gonna do something a little different because I was asked a question to actually ask to a guest.
Okay.
And it's from a guy, and he's in a relationship.
Okay.
And the question that he asked is, you, as a guy who's in a relationship with his girlfriend, he was diagnosed with depression at an early age, but never told his girlfriend that he's with now. He wound up having a few episodes. She's not understanding. Their relationship is on the rocks. What kind of advice could you give for him more so, or what kind of advice could you give for people that are in relationships that do suffer from depression, but their partner just doesn't understand?
Wow, because I was there. I understand what he's going through. I was that person in a relationship with depression, and that's a heavy load you putting on your partner. We're gonna go back to what I said in the beginning. What he can definitely do is trying to understand depression for himself and what it is, and not be too hard on his girlfriend for not understanding.
Yeah.
But accept what she can offer.
Yeah.
If all she can offer is to make him a bowl of soup, that's what she can offer. And if all she can offer is an ear, then that's what she can offer. Don't expect her to understand what it is. Don't expect her to understand that you have your episodes.
That's deep.
Only thing you can do is understand it for yourself and say thank you for being in my life.
That's deep.
That's it. And I wish the best to them both. I learned from my past when I put the key to happiness in his hands.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in control of the lock. He was in control of the lock, and I said, no, you have to make me happy. No, he's supposed to make me happier. I definitely understand what he's going through, and then like I said before, he just needs to understand depression for himself and don't be too hard on his partner.
Yes. All right. You're feeding me. You're feeding me. All right. Next closing question. Your why. Why? I know you told us a little bit in the beginning, but why do you want to put yourself out there? Like, why do you want to put yourself through this?
Why do I want to put myself through?
Yeah, do just
Live
open
in
up to the
spite
world
of.
and tell it.
Well, you know what? The life has taught me, like I said, I am my own history. You are your own history. Without struggle, there's no history. Embrace your struggles, because you will be walking history. You will be a walking society. I grew up in the South Bronx. I was raised hearing bullets. I was raised walking over people that were stabbed. As a kid, playing in the park with needles, heroin needles. And I had to live in spite of all that. As a young child, hiding food stamps. Remember when the food stamps were before the EBT card? My mother would be like, go downstairs and get some loaf of bread. And the dollar bills are bright yellow, bright
exactly. You try to hide it.
And the cashier knew it. She was like, okay, just slide it. I was like, so at a young age, I was like, I don't know what it meant, but I knew I had to live in spite of that.
Yeah.
I had to go outside and play in those parks that had those needles on the floor, but also find the joy in that.
Yeah.
My father was an alcoholic, but he loved us in spite of being that. I seen him do it. He would have his moments, but also say, I'ma still tell y'all a bedtime story. He was an alcoholic, but he lived in spite of that.
Yeah.
And I said, all of those struggles in my life is what created me today.
Yeah.
And if you don't live in spite of, you will just exist in spite of. Which one you want to do? You want to exist in spite of, or you want to live in spite of? And when you're just existing, you're just going through the emotions in life. You're paying your bills, you're going to work, you're coming home. Before you know it, life has outlived you and you did not live life. So it's up to you. And that's the why. Why? Because I've been striving to live in spite of my whole life. When you come out the womb, you still living in spite of, right?
Yeah.
When you were the only sperm in the world to make it, what did that sperm have to do? It had to live in spite of all of those other 3 million trillion sperm. I know we're getting physical here, but you made it.
Yes.
Right? So you started out living in spite of, so you might as well continue.
Yeah.
That's the why.
Yeah. All right. You know what? Last question. We're gonna stop. 'Cause they're telling you right now, we're gonna go on for like another hour. So let me ask you this: what would you say would be? What do you say the biggest takeaway of this episode should be for our listeners, the people that listen to this podcast right now? What is something, the main objective that you really want them to take away from this podcast episode?
The main objective I would really want you to take away is I'm just gonna keep it simple. Live in spite of what you're going through in life the best way you know how. Don't try to live in spite of. Don't let anyone else define your situation before you defined it. If you're upset about something, you figure it out first. You don't let someone say to you, oh, I see you're upset. This is why. No, you say, no, I'm upset because of this. Now, what can you offer? Identify your situation for you. Identify what depression and anxiety is for you. Identify what happiness is for you first before listening to someone else's advice. We have wonderful YouTube videos out of people telling us how to live life. That's great. But you define how you live life first. And then you live in spite of.
You are amazing. This podcast right here, this episode is deep for me. Please tell us where people can find you, because I know I'm gonna get those DMs like we want to know where we can find, like we'll put an IG up there or something. Where can people find you?
Yes, I am definitely on the gram. If you go to @_live in spite of, I am there, and DM me your questions. I am more than willing to share.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm happy. I'm really happy because we've been trying to get this set for a little while.
Yes,
I know our
have.
schedules is crazy, but
Yes.
today he was like, no, you know what? We're gonna get up in here. We're gonna do this.
That's it.
It was worth the wait. I am so thankful for you, and I'm gonna tell you right now, and I promise everybody that's gonna listen to this episode, this will not be the last time that you hear on this show.
Of course, I would love to come back. Absolutely.
I will stalk you. I will come to you. I know where you work. We do business together, so I know where you work.
You know where I work. Yes,
but
you do.
I truly appreciate you because for coming on and opening up the way you did and explaining yourself so clearly. I think that a lot of people and a lot of the listeners will definitely be able to take away a lot from this episode.
I appreciate it. I hope so.
Ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Journey of the Mindset. I'm here with the dopest guest like that I have. Not taking away from Mr. Sherman Brown. Mr. Sherman Brown killed it on episode 2. Go back to episode 2 and hear that too. But definitely don't come here. Don't listen to these episodes and just listen to it once. Go back, rewind it, share it with everybody, share it with a friend, share it with grandma, share it with boyfriend, girlfriend, share it with everybody. But everybody needs to hear this. I'm telling you right now. Until next time, bro family. Peace.
Peace.
That was deep. You're gonna go a long way.
Oh really?
Yes, you're gonna go a long way. You are amazing, like deep. Yeah, your mind.